Okay, we're creating the game from chapter 6 from this book right here, Foundation Game Design with HTML5 and JavaScript by Rex Vanderspuy. It's basically interactive HTML5 based games for the web. Excellent book for beginners, and this is what I use in my web animation class. He has more advanced books like this one, and I'm in chapter 6, and the two previous videos introduced Canvas, the Canvas element, HTML5 element, and then working with objects in JavaScript. So now we're going to add a little bit more. And another thing I like about the book is that he has you create the game and he builds it in stages. So it gets progressively more complex or adds a little more code each step of the way. So in this next step, we're going to create the monster, which will basically have mouth closed, mouth open. And we're going to be able to toggle between mouth closed and mouth open. The image, the graphic for this looks like this. So here it is. It's a PNG file, monsterstates.png. You can see it's right here. So here's with a monster with the mouth closed. Here it is with its mouth open. This is 128 pixels wide by 64 pixels tall, the height. So basically each one of these little characters is 64 by 64, which is going to be the height of our canvas. So basically we want to either show this side of the image or we want to show this side of the image. And so we're going to write the JavaScript that will allow our canvas to be able to switch back and forth between two sides of the same image. So the way this looks in code so far is this. So we just announce that we're going to have an HTML document. He forgoes the HTML tags. He just puts a title tag. So there's no head tags. There's no body tags. Just no even HTML tags. It just goes right into the essentially the body right here. There's only one body element here. It's the canvas element. So the canvas, the width is 64, the height is 64, and then end canvas, there's nothing in this canvas element, and then we start with the JavaScript. Sets up a variable for his canvas, points it at the HTML5 document, queries the selector, so any tag with canvas in it. So this will attach itself nicely. So now when you're calling canvas in JavaScript, it's connected to the HTML5 canvas element. Then he sets up a variable drawing surface with capital S and makes that equal to the canvas, the 2D context. You can use canvas in a 2D or 3D context. The 3D context he points out in the book is WebGL, but that's not what we're going to do here. So now we're just going to start coding this out. So we start with the object. So we talked about objects last time, so here goes. Var monster equals, and then we're going to go to the next line, open a curly brace, and then an end curly brace. So now we have this object. So now the object is going to have some properties. The properties are going to be normal colon is 0 and scared colon is 1, and then the current state equals 0. So, and I don't need that last one. So this is the object, the monster. So normal, scared, and then its state. So it just gives it a few properties. Normal's mouth closed, scared is mouth open, and its current state is 0. Okay, so these are basically integers. So these variables or these properties of monster will be set to that. So now, if we want, we could log that. Tell me what monster.state is. Okay, and I'll set this to click to run once again, and then we'll open up the inspector console, and hit play. And we've got a syntax error on line 19. So let's see here. Monster.state. I put in a semicolon here. There we go. I wanted that outside. Nice. Save and play. And there it is, 0. So monster.state initially is 0. So we see that we've set up our object correctly and our properties. So we no longer need this. And it's time for the next piece. All right, so in the next piece, we're going to do this. We're going to say window dot add event listener. Add event listener with capital E, capital L. And we're going to listen for, this time we're going to listen for keydown. And on keydown, we're going to call a keydown handler function, which we don't have. And the initial setting here is false. So window is a JavaScript object. It's a global variable that represents the window in which the JavaScript is running. So this is a built-in object in JavaScript. So we can say window, the window in which the JavaScript's running, add an event listener for keydown, call the keydown handler, and we're all good. So, all right, next piece. Now we need a function for our keydown handler. All right, so function for the keydown handler. It's going to be passed an event, and it looks like this. All right, function keydown handler. When we push the when a key is pressed, right? When there's a key down, we're going to change monster dot state equal to monster dot scared. Okay, and then we could log it. Console dot log the monster's state is, and then plus monster dot state. So the property, the state property of the monster object, show us what that is. I'm going to clear this. All right, I will play this. So we're playing it, and then I'll click over here in the window right here. And key down. I put a key down, and I got a misspelling in here. So let's see here. Monster.state. It says right here, monitor is not defined on line 23. So I go down to line 23. Monster.state equals, and look at that, monitor. I misspelled. So, right, the reference error here, uncaught reference error to something that doesn't exist in the code. So now, let's say save and play again. Click in the window here, press a key down. The monster state is 1 because I had a key down, right? So any key down, boom, right? I can try it again. Again, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There we go. All right, nice. So basically the next thing we want to do is get this image loaded into the game, right? We want our image to get loaded in. Let's talk about that image in the image gallery here. Image library rather. I added an image, and I added this image right here, monsterstates.png. It has a capital S, and you might have to upload an image, upload a new image, and hit done. Now all you need, if you want to just do this at home, is just get any old image where you've got two 64 by 64 squares, and so the total length or the total width is 128 pixels and the height is 64, and then you have two separate images, 64 by 64, and you could just come up with something on your own and it should be no problem. So all right, so what are we going to do now? The next thing that he covers in the code is he talks about he talks about the draw image function, or the draw image method, which is built into JavaScript. But we've already discussed that, so we'll discuss it when we get to it. So we're going to add some pieces now to this. It's going to be pretty quick. So we're going to add into our object here, we're going to add an image property, and we're going to say image colon, and then the name of the PNG file. So monster states.png. So now monster.image will equal the name of the image file. So we have that. Okay, so we add a piece to our object. Then down here, we need to deal with our image. I'm going to put that right here before the event listener. So before the event listener, I'm going to say var monster image, and once again I have to spell it correctly, equals a new image object. So new image, and open and close parentheses and a semicolon. So var monster image equals a new image object in JavaScript. Then we did this last time. Monster image dot add event listener. We're going to add an event listener. On load, we're going to call the on load, it was either like a load image handler. In this case, we're going to call a render function. So we'll call a render function and false. So this is the function that will get called once the image loads. And then we also need to say monster image dot src source equals our object monster dot image. So we point the source of the monster image to our object, and then our object property, which basically gives us our location or our path to the image, which is in the current directory, and has the name monsterstates.png. So this sets up our monster image, gives it an event listener, so as it loads, once it's done loading, calls a render function. So now we'll basically need a render function. Now, the other thing that he does in this is he adds another event listener here. So copy, paste, window.add event listener, keyup. We could call the keyup handler. So difference between up and down. In this keydown handler, instead of sending this to a log, once we hit the key down, we change the monster state to scared, and then we call the render function, which we're going to need. Right? That sounds good. You can imagine what the key up handler will be. Copy, paste, the key up handler. Key up handler. Monster state is monster.normal. And we also render. Let's just double check that's normal. Yep, it is. Normal is 0. So on a key up, we change it back to normal and then render that. And now all we need basically is the heavy lifter in this is function render. There we go. Function render. All right. So this is going to do most of the work. I'll do this. Okay. So now it's time to write the render function. So the way he uses it, he says basically we need to check in this render function whether the monster state is whether it's monster.normal or monster.scared. We need to check for that. And to do that, he uses a switch. So we do a switch, switch, basically the format of switch looks like this, right? Right, the switch kind of looks like that. And in the switch, we're going to put monster.state. So in this switch, if we pass it monster.state, it's either going to be passing it a 0 or a 1. And so we'll have two case scenarios. Case monster.normal, which would be a 0. This is a colon. Then we go into our drawing surface and draw the image. Okay, drawing surface, draw the image. So, and that's drawing surface dot draw image. And then that draw image, we'll break that out onto separate lines. And then afterwards, break out of the switch if we need to. So drawing.surface.draw image, open parentheses, close parentheses, semicolon, and then break out. So I can just copy this whole thing and I can paste it right here and say, okay, case monster dot scared. We also draw the image and then break out. So what are we drawing? So we're drawing, what are we drawing? We are drawing monster image, comma. Now what is the X and the Y? So monster image, so monster image, comma. And then what is the X and Y on the original image? If it's normal, it's at the left-hand side. So we're talking about 0, 0. And then the height and the width is 64 by 64. And then where are we going to render it in the canvas? Whoops, we need a comma here. I almost forgot. Comma, where are we going to render it in the canvas? We'll render it at 0, 0. And the height and width will be 64, 64. So upper left-hand corner, it'll be the normal character. He's 64 tall, 64 wide. Where in the canvas? Upper left corner, also 64 by 64. Now that looks correct. Now the only difference is when he's scared, right, on the original image, we go over 64 pixels, so X will equal 64. Y will still be 0, and the height and width will still be 64, comma. And then where are we going to draw it on the canvas? On the canvas, we'll draw it in the upper left-hand corner, 0, 0, and the height and width is 64 by 64. All right, so that is how we're going to do this. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So let's see. I think that looks good. We'll take a look at the order of events here. The monster's image will load. When it loads, it'll do an initial render for us. Okay, and it'll find it in the object, the image. We have event listeners for key down and key up. One's going to call the key down handler. One's going to call the key up handler. Pass it that event, right? And the monster state will change to 1, or it'll be 0, depending on whether whether it's key down or key up. And then we call the render function. The render function is going to look at that monster state. It's going to be 0 or 1. If it's 0, we'll have monster state.normal equals 0, so case 0, right? And then use our drawing surface to draw the image. All right, I'm looking over this and everything looks pretty good. So I can get rid of the extra space here. I like to put comments sometimes, like this is the end of render function, right? Just in case, and this is right here, end of switch. All right, so we click to run, and I'm not getting the picture here. So let's troubleshoot this and see what's going on. All right, syntax error on line 14. So we'll go up here. Yep, basic syntax error on line 14. You know, so it's actually not on 14, but if you go to here to line 14, you say normal : 0, comma, that's good, right? That looks fine. Well, actually the problem's on line 13, where I put image : and then I passed it a string with the name of the image file, but I forgot a comma, because this object, all of the properties in the object need to be separated by commas. So just missing that one comma here, you know, kind of blew it. So we'll save that, close this, and run it again. Maybe we'll find another error. Nope, there is the image. So the image loaded, right? That means that our initial render function rendered when the monster image loaded, and it found the monster image because I must have named the name of the file correctly. And then if I hit the key, like the space bar here, click in this window, hit the space bar, mouth opens, key up, closes, open, close. So you can see how that, you know, this render function is working based on, you know, passing it a 0 or a 1. In a 0, we basically draw this part of the image. And if it's scared, we draw this part of the image. And the source image is either starting on the left-hand side, right? If we take a look at this image, it's either x0, and we're drawing this 64 by 64 square starting at 0, or starting at 64 pixels across, we're drawing this square, 64 by 64 square. So anyway, pretty cool. Just a simple little thing, but still lots of cool learning here. I mean, just very clear anyway. All right, that's it. On the next video, we'll make the game, the goal is eventually to have a rows and rows of monsters, and it's a smash game where you try to click on the monsters to get the points when they pop up, and they pop up like a whack-a-mole. It's basically a whack-a-mole game. So in the next video, we're going to try to get that whack-a-mole game working. It's going to involve some animation and also some timers, because things will have to happen on timers for the moles to pop up, and then you got to click them and all of that. So it's going to be pretty good.